This week's discussion was on behaviors that are not necessarily um, negatively impacting the classroom. Um, they're not considered dangerous, disrespectful, harming of other children. They're not the large behaviors, but it's rather looking at the behaviors that are kind of considered annoying, the little minor behaviors in the classroom that oftentimes teachers, and I know myself included, have viewed as annoying um, or bothersome, but aren't really um, harmful in any way to the classroom functioning. It's not harming the other students, it's not harming themselves, it's not harming the teacher. They're still being respectful, they're not damaging anything. But these are the minor behaviors that need to be looked at in a different way. Um, a quote from the book that I really liked was, taking a step back when a child's doing something. Is this really breaking the rule, or is what this child is doing annoying to me? And I oftentimes have to do that myself. I know even this morning in class, these two girls were playing with the puppets, and they were having a lot of fun. They were being a little bit rambunctious with it. Nothing too bad, but it was a little bit, you know, too much for me. I ended up just moving myself away from that area because nothing they were doing was wrong. They were having a lot of fun. It was just a little bit too much for me. So I just said, okay, girls, just remember, use your inside voices. And I walked away just because they were doing this loud squawking with the parrots and the eagles. And I knew they weren't doing anything wrong. So for myself, I had to just take myself away from that. And one of the other things I really liked in the book is it gave the example, let me just go back to it. It gave the example of a child that was being aggressive towards one of her peers. She pushed her down, and then afterwards she was biting her fingers and rocking back and forth in the chair. It talks about tackling the tougher, more problematic behavior first and kind of leaving the other stuff alone, which I completely 100% agree on this. I think that, children sometimes are overwhelmed and bombarded with too many rules. Like we criticize almost. I don't want to say criticize, but we kind of pick apart everything that they're doing. And to an extent, that's not good for them. I mean, like I said, the big behaviors are the ones that we need to be correcting. The littler things, there's other ways in which we can get desirable effects and also get the behaviors we want to see without having to correct always the little minor, less important behaviors. I mean, we might not totally like what they're doing, but if it's not causing harm to the classroom, some of the stuff needs to be let go. Um, kids, children, especially young children, I work with preschoolers, are not able to follow every single rule we want to do. In the example, kind of picking the tougher behaviors first is what we need to remember and focus on. They're not robots, they're children. Um, and the little things we see, there's much more kind of ways to get what we want without being so micromanaging of what they're doing. Um, some of the strategies that they gave in this chapter were focusing attention elsewhere. The example that it had given in the book was with the toddler or the infant banging the spoon on the metal tray, which is obviously something we don't want to be seeing, but also it's not dangerous, not harmful. So by focusing attention elsewhere, in this situation, it says the adult starts playing peekaboo with the child, gives them a softer toy that doesn't bang. Some of the things I was thinking of, especially in regards to a classroom, was giving children jobs during circle time, giving them jobs in the classroom. If you're keeping them focused and their attention focused on certain things, they don't necessarily have time or they don't have the attention span to be doing the other things you don't want them to be doing. Another really big thing that I always think about is circle time. A lot of times, kids fool around during circle. It's not necessarily what we want them to be doing, but it happens all the time. They fool with their friends. They don't pay attention. They start picking stuff off the bulletin board. So what I always try and do in my circles, I try and make my circles hands-on and very interactive. I'm focusing their attention on something while they're still learning. I always try and give them something to do, whether it be we work on a graph together that pertains to what we're doing. We do a hands-on like STEAM building experiment. We do science experiments. We're doing something that they participate in, and it focuses their attention on what they're doing, so that way it kind of rules out some of the other behaviors that I don't want to see happening in circle, without them even knowing that I'm trying to correct their behaviors. It's kind of correcting their behaviors before it even starts. The next strategy it talks about is redirecting to replace undesirable behaviors. In the book, it kind of gives the example of the garden. And in the garden, there's some flowers of the neighbors that obviously you don't really want your child to be touching. But it talks about how showing them the stuff that they can touch, showing them the acorns and the pine cones, but telling them, when you go near these flowers, you can't use the same touches that you were using for the other ones, because if you just completely shut down what they were doing, like, no, you can't touch those, don't touch those flowers, it kind of might shut off their whole learning experience to nature and touching. So like just giving them hands-on stuff that they can do when they're not supposed to be doing other things, replacing the undesirable behavior with something that they should be doing. Also, I've noticed when there's a lot of running in the classroom, doing the running like in a safe, effective way, like either taking them outside, having, replace it with maybe we do gross motor obstacle courses, because they're showing you that they have a need to be doing and a want to be doing something, but without having to tell them no, that they can't do that, or constantly reminding them to use their walking feet. Turn that into something fun, replacing that, redirecting that energy to something fun. The next one was focusing on positive outcomes. I really like this one. It's, praising the desirable behaviors that you want to see. Not focusing on the negative ones that you don't want to see, but really praising the desirable ones, such as when you see them being kind to other children. I think that this is one of the most important things, when you see them interacting positively with one another, is you're praising what they're doing. You're pointing it out and making a point to say, I really like how you're sharing with your friend. How do you, and, talking about it with them. How did that make you feel? And, making it a point to really praise them for the positive thing, and bringing it up in a large group. I really liked it when, so-and-so went out of their way to help them clean up their toys, and making it a group thing so the other children realize that that child is getting praised for it. Children like praise. So for them, they're going to want to earn that praise themselves. When you see children following the rules, you're pointing those out, like I said, in a large group also, so that way everybody can see that this is how you get the praise. When they're being helpful in the classroom, when they're being respectful, when they remember their manners, pointing out all the positive things will help you get more desirable behaviors and what you want to see in the classroom. So overall, I think doing these strategies is a great way to get and see more positive behaviors in the classroom without necessarily having to I don't want to correct and redivert the smaller, more or less desirable, annoying kind of behaviors. A lot of things I think as a teacher we need to learn to kind of let go, but also do smaller things that I talked about in strategies to help prevent those before they even start. So that is it. Thank you.